Hey there, Saber friends. I got a couple requests to see how to use crystalfocus LS R.I.C.E for real-time internal configuration editor for the LED strip version of the crystalfocus by plecterlabs. So I'm going to show you how to do that and show you how to mess with all the different configurations for your lightsaber through your R.I.C.E port that you should definitely install into your crystalfocus LS lightsaber as you build it. So that you have access to all this stuff, which is way easier to get to than through the SD card, because you're going to need to make real-time changes, more so than maybe more so than with a standard LED lightsaber, because you're going to want to play with the blade effects and the different speeds of the sound ignitions and stuff like that while you use R.I.C.E, while you want to change your settings. You don't want to keep taking in and out the SD card. Okay, so I have the R.I.C.E program open, which you can get for free on the plecterlabs website, and also actually I'm not sure this is on TCSS Custom Saber Shop, but you can get it at the plecterlabs website. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug in my R.I.C.E cable, 3.5 millimeter R.I.C.E cable. You're going to need to get this from the Custom Saber Shop, and you're going to need to download the driver, which particular driver for the R.I.C.E off the Custom Saber Shop. I'm going to plug this into my lightsaber and turn on my lightsaber. See if I can connect here, which will show with a yellow. See if I can get it to go. A lot of times what I do is close down R.I.C.E, open it back up. I find it a little finicky. Let's see here. Okay, so we got a yellow dot that appeared with this green dot. What I can do now is hit the read config button over here on the right. This is under the section where you give commands here. So you do read config, you will notice that the sound bank number changes to whatever sound bank you have. So in this case it's sound bank 6. Now what we're going to go through here is some things you can change in the general section. You can change the sound volume, you can change the anti-power off delay here, which I'm actually going to change for my lightsaber, for my button. Since I made a change, I actually am just going to save on soundboard and just to test that. So I gave it a command under read config, I saved that soundboard. As you'll notice, the blade did not retract in the traditional sense, just turned off as I gave it the command to save. And that's just normal for the crystalfocus LS. You're not going to see the retraction on the save. So every time you hit the read config and you get a confirmation by this yellow dot right there that it's reading. Now, like I said, your saber does have to be on You can change a couple different things on the general, the first general tab, second general tab. You can change a few more things. You can even configure accent LEDs. Now the cool thing here that I like to do is to do the shifting or the die shift if your font allows it. Shift will actually change all the sounds. I have that at 0 because this font, let me see if I can activate the force push. So you could hear, this is from episode 7 by Lord Blako, Graflex, and this has a song, so you don't want to change the shift, which will warp the song, or if there's voices in your font, you don't want to change the shift. For DYN shift, I do like it very high, which actually just changes the swing sound. Depending on how I'm pointing my lightsaber, we're changing the swing sound. So I like that on basically every font, but that's just up to you guys. At 0, we'll disable that. So as you can see, like the cool thing about R.I.C.E is I'm able to swing around my lightsaber and actually, you know, feel or hear this stuff happen as it goes. And I'll show you what I mean. We're just going to skip the motion tab and just go straight for the LED strip. Just want to explain a couple things here. You'll be able to see configurations take place in real time on the LED strip. So I can change the shimmer, make it more random. It looks like I have the period at the highest it can go, which is 25. The shimmer, you can kind of change the way that looks, the different flicker, and just get different effects. So hopefully you can see that as I go here on video, the different ways this is changing. I'm altering the pulse right now, different stuff. Okay, the special effects down at the bottom here, the bolt location, I have set to 0 on this font, which actually makes it so that you won't see a segment disappear. If you want to see a segment disappear, you can increase that number for random. You want to set that at 7, which you'll see on some of my other fonts that I load up here for you guys to see. That will be at 7, which means segments will disappear randomly. Bolt max will give a percentage of the reserve power to the blade when you do a blaster deflect. That I have set to 0%. Maybe I can increase that a little bit here to 14 just to play around. The main thing that you have to deal with, actually I'm going to show you guys about the drive right now, which is the most important thing on a crystalfocus LS. So the drive is located right here, which is the third thing down on the LED strip section. Now I have a prototype crystalfocus LS, one of the first ones made, so my board is configured a little bit differently, whereas 400 that you see here is actually equivalent to about 800 on your crystalfocus LS. So you have to multiply what I have here times 2, because this is a prototype card with a maximum of 511, and every other crystalfocus LS board will have a maximum of 1023 possible for the drive. So basically you have to calculate what your lightsaber blade needs as far as the battery, as far as reflects off the battery that you're using for your lightsaber. So you have to set that. So right now you could consider this to be, I have 80% of the available energy being used. This is being 400, because really that's basically 800 out of a possible 1023, or 400 out of a possible 511. So hopefully that doesn't confuse you guys. You just want to make sure you're doing a safe situation for your LED blade. If you have different colors, like colors such as red and yellow might require a different power requirement than white or green. Okay, so just to let you guys know that. And the next tab is, oh, well, let me just tell you what the first two things here do. I went over basically everything else on this LED strip tab. This actually goes with the speed of the blade ignition and retraction. So if you're one of those people that thinks that the blade ignition and retraction, some of my videos, isn't aligned properly to the sound, the Crystal Focus LS will configure the blade ignition and retraction when this is set to 0. For off or for on, it will configure it itself to the sound it thinks the font is making as far as ignition and retraction. Okay, and I'm just going to save this real quick. Save on soundboard. Just to actually turn this, just to actually get the sound off for a second while I explain this. So for this sound font that I just had on, this is the same settings even though I just saved it. You can see the settings that is on this font. 350 for quick on, which means I had set it myself for font number 6 to ignite at a setting of 350 out of a possible, I think, 3000. So you can set that to whatever you want, or put it to 0 and let the computer, the Crystal Focus LS, decide for your font. Okay. For FOC, that's flash on clash. That's the final tab here. Duration just depends on how quick you want that blast to go off. So let me do this for you guys. I'm gonna read the config again. On font 6, you saw the yellow dot appear, which means we connected. So duration of the flash on clash, as you can see, it has maybe, I guess it's a 200th of a second, or about a half a second of flash on clash. Now I can mess with that number here. See how that's faster? This is at 66. This is about a quarter of what it was at first. Very fast. That's actually pretty cool. Alex Gordon did some research back in the day, maybe like 5 years ago, about how to make the best flash on clash for movie accurateness, and I think it was around 100 or 70 or 80. This is 78. Very cool, quick flash. So you have a couple different options here, as well as the drive for the flash on clash, which you also have to double if we're talking about my lightsaber compared to your lightsaber. So my lightsaber, it says right here 128 out of a possible 511. That would be 260 out of a possible 1023 if this was your lightsaber, and you might have some room to play where you can amp this number up depending on what kind of battery you have, depending on if you have a resistor on your flash on clash strip. You can play with this number to be a certain percentage of your entire energy situation. So for me right now, as you can see, I have it at approximately 1/5 of the battery ability goes to the flash on clash. When the flash on clash is activated for lockup, or for blaster blocking, or for... Now, if you'll know when you drive this too high that your lightsaber will, you could actually burn out the flash on clash string. My flash on clash string in here can handle 3.9 or 4 volts, which is about half the battery capacity. So we have this at far less than half. The flash on clash could go brighter here. So just make sure not to burn out your flash on clash strip, which could actually melt the foam inside your blade and cause like a little mini like fire inside your blade if it doesn't trip your battery PCB first. Okay, so be careful with the drive on both the FOC and the LED strip itself. Just make sure you're running it safe. You could do a flash on clash maximum percentage wise to increase the flash on clash in a random fashion on clashes and stuff like that, and you could actually choose that right here by checking these boxes and stuff like that. So I actually like the changes that I've made here. I'm going to save it on my soundboard. Just kind of reboots that soundboard. Then let me just go to another font here.
I call it luck. In my experience, this is the weapon of a Jedi Knight.
Okay, so I have Heirloom by Mad Cow. I'm just going to show you the motion setting here. Okay, and we'll know that we connected when I hit read config. We see the yellow light, sound bank 1. I'm going to click on, and you can actually see my settings here. I'm going to change the flash on clash duration down a little bit because I liked what we did before. Okay, but I'm going to go to motion, and we can change our general sensitivity. Right now I have it at 63. Going down, bringing that number down, actually decreases the sensitivity, and increasing that number increases the sensitivity. So that could be one thing you want to adjust when you have errant swings and things like that. Another thing that you could adjust when you have errant swings is the actual swing meter. So let's see here. I'm pretty happy with 10 here, but I can show you what the difference is. You see, if I do 189, now we don't really get a swing. You want to set that depending on where your soundboard is located. In your lightsaber, it's going to be different, and sometimes it's different for each font. So this number could be different. You want to have a gap between the low swing and the high swing here, and also you want to have a good gap between the high swing number, 213 is what I have, and the actual low clash number, because that is what's going to activate your clashes. So 400 on my lightsaber here is activating my clashes. And motion, FX, the swing, and the clash. Let's see what this is here. Motion flow. That might be how swings flow into one another. I'm not too certain on that one. And I'm not too sure what timed gesture sound selection. Not sure I'm noticing differences there by changing that. Mostly what I deal with on here is the general sensitivity, the swing, and the clash settings to configure my motion sensitivity. And like I said, the LED strip settings is pretty important to me too, where I go through here and I play with all the different things. Maybe as you could see, changing the different shimmer levels. Like I said, you usually want to be very careful with the drive, but you can play around with a lot of the other settings and not have to go into your SD card. Could actually change what kind of switch you have if you end up replacing the switch in your saber. Yeah, this is pretty cool. Anti-power off, if that was switched on, I would actually have to hold down my auxiliary button and then press the power button to turn off. I have the menu validation sound turned off because I don't want to hear that. So I'm gonna hit save on soundboard. I made a couple changes to the sound font 1.
This is the weapon of a Jedi Knight.
And there you have it. Like if you have it set up like I do here, we have a little bit of room to swing the saber around with the cord that you got from TCSS is pretty long, so you can connect it to your computer, kind of step back and you know, swing your saber to actually configure it to the motion rather than going from the SD card to the computer, making changes, seeing if that's correct. You always want to put the R.I.C.E port somewhere as easy as possible on your hilt. Sometimes it requires, you know, opening up the hilt and inserting the R.I.C.E, but at least you can maneuver the saber. You know, you want to think about that when you're building the lightsaber. You want to think about where you're going to put the R.I.C.E. You want to hopefully have a place where you can insert the R.I.C.E, even if you have to take off the pommel, but still be able to maneuver the saber around and actually configure the settings exactly the way you want. Alright, so I hope that helped. Anyone with questions about R.I.C.E for the Crystal Focus LS, Daryl, I hope that helped you. You need to get on your Graflex and start configuring blade stuff. It's really fun to, you know, if you have a movie font and you want like a Qui-Gon shimmer, and you look at the movie and you find out what that looks like, and you can try to mimic it, you know, with your LED blade. And you know, different fonts might have a more wild flicker, and some you might want to have a solid state. Like there's certain RGB LEDs that I've used, and if you have the no flicker at all and no pulse, the RGB will actually go through its color change motions and do cool things, where if you have a flicker, it won't work. So anyway, thanks again, and I'm pretty much rambling now, but I hope you enjoyed the video, and good luck with your plecterlabs Crystal Focus LS, and install R.I.C.E into your hilt. Talk to you later.